back to our game here, guys. So what is the name of the ladder spiral shape used to represent DNA? That is your double helix.
I thought it was genetic code.
No, the genetic code, it tells you what is all in your DNA sequence. So that's using your letters like the guanine and then thymine. There was cytosine, it was cytosine and something with an A. I don't remember what the A was.
See, kids, this is why you should always study before you do these kinds of things. And I think Bubble just assaulted you a little bit.
A little bit, that's great. Okay, winged giraffe. Who's winged giraffe?
Me.
Awesome. Okay.
I am the royal kitten. Meow.
Number 2, all of the nuclei in your cells have a complete set of chromosomes except for. Did we lose people? Are we only down to 2 people? Sad face.
Oh, but maybe someone just was slower answering?
Well, they should have had 20 seconds to answer.
Oh, maybe.
Interesting. Okay, but anyways, so just remember gametes, those are your sex cells. So those only have half a set of chromosomes, just because when the gametes come together, they will combine the genetic or like their chromosomes, and then they'll have a total of 46 after they have combined. Okay. So this one here is a bit hard. The reading this one here there was a lot to know in this one here, so it's gonna be a bit difficult. Okay. Hey. All right.
Who's flying goat?
Which of the following is not true about genes? This one you might want to have your notes out for if you have notes.
I just guessed. This is why you do your homework, kids.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, with this one here, here it says each chromosome only contains 1 gene. And that's not true. Chromosome will actually have multiple genes. If not, then if we were to only have, say like, I guess there would only be 23 genes that we could have, we'd have 23 pairs of genes that we could have. And it wouldn't be enough genetic information to make us all unique in all the different ways that we are. So there's, within one chromosome, there's a lot of different, types of genes or types of characteristics about you. So it is true that genes are located on chromosomes. They just might be on a specific place. So maybe they're in the middle or at the top. So gene pairs do occupy matching locations. So when you're looking at the double helix, if the gene for your hair color is on the top of the one side of your chromosome, it'll be on the top of that right side. So in terms of those chromosome pairs, it'll be in the same position. And then the last one that's true is that unpaired chromosomes, each may not have an exact same DNA code. And that's gonna be really interesting, which is how when we have, like say when your parents, I guess when you were born, you may not have, say, some of the same traits as say your mom or your dad, and maybe it's because one was actually a carrier of a certain gene, but they just weren't showing it, okay? And that's why when we have, your brothers and sisters, you guys all don't look alike or exactly alike because each chromosome will have some slightly different variations, so not all identical.
That is so much information to process.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. We talk a little bit more about this later on as well, so don't worry about that. Okay, true or false? An allele codes for a specific trait.
True. True.
Well, don't say the answer.
That's why I'm saying it.
The answer.
That's why I'm saying it questionable because I don't even know. Finally, I got one right on the 4th question.
Awesome. Okay. So it is true that an allele codes for a specific trait. So think of this as when we were talking about the characteristic versus a trait, that the characteristic was kind of like the big category of things. And that's sort of the same thing here is that here, genes is the bigger idea of it, where an allele is specific, okay? Hey, Royal Kitten's on there. We're getting some points in. Okay, question number 5. A blank is a type of organism that carries 2 different traits. Good job. So a hybrid. So we're actually also going to be looking at, say, hybrid species tomorrow. Just to give a little heads up, if you guys have seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite, he is obsessed with ligers. And for the longest time, I thought that it was just like this big running joke that the movie created. And they're like actual things. And it was kind of like, my mind was just like blown when I found out that like that was an actual thing. So you guys are going to learn about a little bit about ligers, and there's tigons, there's pisleys, mules. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard of that type of hybrid. But anyways, hybrid means that it's a combination of two things. So we're talking about I guess in terms of their genetics, a hybrid would have they could be a carrier of two different traits, say like brown hair and blonde hair. But purebred means that they're only a carrier of that one trait. So if you're a purebred, say for brown hair, the only two, I guess the only kind of traits that you could pass on to your offspring would be brown hair.
What did you say the title of the movie was called?
Napoleon Dynamite. Have you seen it?
No. Mitchell, your mom will know it. I bet you any money.
I have seen it.
How
I used
much
to own it.
How much are you willing to bet? How much are you willing to bet? How much are you willing to bet?
1 peso.
That's 1 cent of Canadian money.
Yeah, so 1 cent.
There you go.
Check that one out. Okay. Anyway, so here when we're talking about two different traits is a hybrid. When it's only carrying one specific type of trait, then it is a purebred. So that's sort of like that same thing kind of goes with your, it's even like what you guys would probably know purebred dogs is that they only come from, their parents were both, say, Labrador dogs, or they were both Great Pyrenees. So that's what it means to be a purebred, is that they're only coming from one, like you've only got that one type of trait.
Wouldn't humans technically count as hybrids because we have some traits from our mom and some traits from our dad?
So looking at your genetics, like the different, I guess the different traits, you could say that you're a hybrid, but humans themselves would not be considered hybrids. When we're considering the species, that is where two different species would be joining together. So say, for example, like the liger, that's a lion and a tiger. Those are two different species, but everyone will have their own different traits that they could potentially have like different variations of, which could make their traits a hybrid, but humans themselves are not a hybrid.
Okay, so trait-wise, yes, but overall,
Big
not
picture,
really.
no. Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Good. So a recessive allele will be visible in a hybrid. So that one there was false. So the recessive allele is, think of it as that shy one. Say it's like a shy person. If you have someone who's confident, maybe someone who's not, the person who's going to be really talking and really, making a presence, say during a presentation, is that dominant person. So the recessive is just going to kind of like hide back and just not do much of anything. So when you have a hybrid, the dominant allele is going to be visible. So say, for example, if you had traits for blonde hair and brown hair is dominant. So you would see the brown hair, but I could still pass off a blonde hair gene to my offspring.
Think of it as like an introvert and an extrovert, pretty much.
Sure, yeah. But anyways, so just make sure it's the ones that are visible, so then you would see the extrovert over the introvert then, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Awesome.
What was that? Okay.
Ooh, we're on a streak of 3.
I'm not gonna get cocky. I'm not gonna get cocky.
Which is the dominant trait in the following Punnett square? Okay, so I really want to talk about, I put quite a few questions about Punnett squares just because they're really important. So when we're looking at a Punnett square, the dominant trait is the capital letter. So looking at a little key here, the capital letter here is tall. So then you would know that the tall is the dominant trait. So say when we're looking at our Punnett square here, this one here is a purebred tall trait because they're both going to be, I guess both traits that's going to acquire from the parents are both tall genes. this one here and the one down here in the bottom left are called hybrids because each offspring can pass off either a tall person trait or a short person trait. Then
Also,
this one down here would be a purebred recessive. So this person would only be able to pass off a short person gene.
Also, I'm pretty sure the answer was literally right there. The tall is a dominant trait, short is a recessive trait. So if all of us read at that, all of us would have gotten it right.
Yes. So part of the thing though is that like you're not going to have this is not going to be in your it's not going to be in your assignments. So you guys don't have to know that, but I mean that was kind of a little. You guys were really reading there. It was there. It was great.
This is why screenshots exist.
Good. Okay, good stuff, guys.
I'm a royal kitty in first place.
Okay, so what are the chances of an offspring being tall?
Oh no. Oh.
Ooh.
Crap.
Okay, so let's talk about this one here. So when we're looking at this Punnett square, these are the, I guess, the different possible outcomes for the offspring. So tall here is the dominant gene, which means that if you have a hybrid, the hybrid is going to be tall. So this offspring, or there's one chance here that you could have an offspring that's tall. There's one here and one there. So there's 3 chances out of the 4. So in order for your your offspring to be short, that's a recessive gene, which means that both traits that it acquires has to be recessive or be that short person gene. So there's 3 options out of 4. So that means that they could have a 75% chance of being tall, which is great. Or I mean, I guess if that's what you want. But anyway, so that means that there is a 1 in 4 shot of being short. Okay, so you have to look at your possible outcomes and look at how the different genetics, or I guess how you have the different dominant and recessive genes, how they're kind of coming into play here in our little Punnett square.
Why do I have a lamp? Why do I have a lamp head on my head?
Good question. All right.
I don't know.
Last one. What are the chances of an offspring being a purebred?
I've got a good feeling about this one. The music suddenly goes loud and then it decreases.
Right. Good stuff, guys. Okay, so just remember with your purebreds, it means that they only have the one type of trait. So you have one purebred right here, and then you have another purebred right here. So that means you have 2 out of 4 options or possibilities to be a purebred. Remember, you have to reduce those. If there's a common number between the 2, then that means you have to reduce it. So if it's a 2 out of 4 chance, that can be reduced to 1 out of 2. Okay? So think of it just like your fractions when you're reducing them. If you had a fraction of 2 over 4 and you had to put that into simplest terms, that would reduce to 1/2. Okay?
So basically,
concept here.
Basically, it's a 50-50.
In this case here, yeah, it would be a 50-50 for a purebred. So just let's talk about this one right here. And I guess this one here, you had the exact same option of 1 out of 4. That's interesting. But anyways, this 1 out of 1.
Yeah, I misclicked.
Okay, well, that's fair. But anyways, so with this one here, if it was a 1 out of 1, that would mean that all 4 of them would have to be purebreds.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you'd have a 4 to 4 chance, which reduces to 1 to 1. So be very careful. So this will be something that's really important for your assignment, is that if you're giving me a 2 to 4, or maybe if it was or a 4 out of 4, then you'd have to reduce that. Okay. Always put into that simplest terms. Flying goat.
Flying goat. Who is